It's quiet tonight, the kind of quiet that feels like the world is holding its breath. As you settle in and let your thoughts drift away, I have a story to share. A gentle tale about time, not the kind you measure in hours and minutes, but the kind you feel in your heart. Take a deep breath, release the day, and let's step into a world where every tick of the clock holds a secret waiting to be found. The little clock shop on Willow Lane had stood there for generations, its oak door weathered by time, its windows glowing softly in the evenings like a lantern in the dark. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of polished wood and oiled gears, a comforting aroma that wrapped around visitors like a warm embrace. Elias Holloway, the clockmaker, moved through the shop with the quiet precision of a man who knew every tick and tock of his craft. His hands, though worn with age, were steady as they adjusted delicate springs and wound antique pendulums, each motion practiced and sure. The townsfolk often said that stepping into Holloway's shop was like stepping into a different time, one where the world moved slower, where the only urgency was the gentle chiming of the hour. Elias had spent most of his life in this shop, surrounded by the whispers of clocks that had outlived their original owners. Some were stately grandfather clocks with deep, resonant voices. Others were dainty porcelain timepieces that tinkled like wind chimes. Each one had a story, and Elias knew them all. He often spoke to them as he worked, murmuring reassurances when a gear stuck or a spring resisted. In return, they filled the silence with their rhythmic breathing, a symphony of ticks and chimes that lulled him into a peaceful rhythm of his own. The shop was never truly silent, and that was how he liked it. The sound of time passing was a reminder that life, no matter how quiet, was always moving forward. One evening, as the last light of dusk faded behind the rooftops, Elias noticed something unusual nestled between two old carriage clocks, a small wooden box he had never seen before. It was no larger than his palm, its surface carved with intricate vines and tiny stars that seemed to shimmer in the lamplight. Curious, he lifted the lid and found a pocket watch inside, its face a deep, celestial blue with silver constellations instead of numbers. The moment his fingers brushed against it, a warmth spread through his hands, as though the watch had been waiting for him. Then, softly, it began to chime a melody so sweet and unfamiliar that Elias felt his breath catch in his chest. The other clocks in the shop stilled, as if listening, and for the first time in years, Elias Holloway felt the unmistakable pull of mystery. The watch's melody was unlike anything Elias had ever heard, gentle and flowing, like a brook winding through a sunlit forest. It didn't tick in the usual way. Instead, it hummed, its notes lingering in the air, like the last words of a lullaby. Elias held it closer, turning it over in his hands, searching for any mark of its maker. There was no inscription, no signature, only the delicate engravings of stars and vines, so finely detailed they seemed alive. That night, he placed the watch on his bedside table, and as he lay in the dim glow of the street lamp outside, its song wrapped around him like a blanket, easing the weight of the day from his shoulders. He dreamed of endless skies and a woman with silver-streaked hair her hands shaping time itself into something beautiful. When he woke the next morning, the watch had stopped, its hands frozen at 3 minutes past midnight. Yet, when he picked it up, the warmth returned, and the faintest whisper of the melody brushed against his ears. Elias knew then that this was no ordinary timepiece. It was alive with memory, with emotion. He spent the day researching, poring over old books and town records, searching for any mention of a watch like this. The local librarian, an elderly woman named Mrs. Peabody, recalled a story about a clockmaker from centuries ago, Cora Lane, a woman said to have crafted timepieces that didn't just measure hours but held them. They say her watches could remember, Mrs. Peabody murmured, her eyes distant, that they carried echoes of laughter, of goodbyes, of love. Elias left the library with more questions than answers, but one thing was certain. The watch had a story to tell, and he intended to listen. That evening, Elias wound the watch carefully, and as the melody began again, he closed his eyes and let it carry him away. This time, the song was different, softer, sadder. In his mind's eye, he saw glimpses of a rainy street, a gloved hand letting go, a whispered farewell. The ache in his chest was sudden and sharp, as though the memory were his own. He didn't understand how it was possible, but he knew this watch held more than time. It held a soul. And if the legends were true, then Cora Lane had left something behind, something meant to be found. As the last notes of the melody faded, Elias made a silent promise. He would uncover the truth, no matter how long it took. The following morning, Elias found himself drawn to the oldest section of his workshop, where forgotten timepieces gathered dust. As sunlight filtered through the leaded glass windows, he noticed something peculiar. The hands of every clock in that corner were frozen at the exact same time, 3:07. A shiver ran down his spine as he recalled the mysterious watch in his pocket had stopped at 3:03. The 4-minute discrepancy felt significant, like the space between a breath held and released. His fingers trembled slightly as he reached for his great-grandfather's toolbox, the one that hadn't been opened in decades. Inside, beneath layers of faded velvet, he discovered a yellowed envelope addressed in elegant script, for the keeper of the song. The letter inside spoke of a hidden compartment beneath the shop's floorboards, placed there by his great-grandfather, who had apprenticed under Cora Lane herself. As Elias pried up the worn floorboard near the stove, dust motes dancing in the sunlight, he uncovered a small brass key and a journal bound in blue leather. The journal's pages contained sketches of celestial watches and notes about the great harmony, Cora's belief that certain timepieces could resonate with the universe's natural rhythms. One passage stood out. When the watch of echoes sings its true song, the barrier between moments grows thin. Elias turned the brass key over in his palm, noticing its teeth formed a tiny constellation, the same pattern on his mysterious watch. That night, as a full moon cast silver light through the shop windows, Elias placed the watch on his workbench beside the brass key. The moment they touched, the watch began chiming that haunting melody again, but now the sound pulsed through the room like a heartbeat. All the clocks in the shop joined in perfect harmony, their pendulums swinging in unison, despite being different makes and models. The air itself seemed to shimmer, and for the briefest instant, Elia saw her Cora Lane standing by the window, her hands moving as if adjusting invisible gears. She turned toward him with a sad smile before fading like smoke in sunlight. When the music stopped, Elias found tears on his cheeks, and the watch's hands now pointing to 3:07, the same as all the other clocks. The barrier between moments had indeed grown thin, and he understood now that he wasn't just keeping time, he was keeping a promise made generations ago. The journal revealed Cora's life's work, an attempt to create a timepiece that could harmonize with what she called the world's hidden clock. Her sketches showed an elaborate celestial mechanism with 12 interlocking rings representing the planets, designed to align with the heavens on the winter solstice. According to her notes, this alignment would allow the watch to open the door between then and now. Elias spent days studying the designs, comparing them to the watch in his possession. He discovered that pressing the winding crown at specific intervals caused tiny, star-shaped gears to emerge from the watch's casing, forming a miniature orrery that matched the night sky exactly. Mrs. Peabody helped Elias locate Cora's old workshop in the forest outside town, now little more than a stone foundation covered in ivy. As they searched the ruins, the pocket watch grew warm against Elias's chest. Beneath a mossy flagstone, they found a rusted metal box containing Cora's final journal entry. "I have set the watch to find its way home when the time is right. It carries all my memories of him, the laughter in spring, our last dance under the harvest moon, the goodbye we never got to say. When the celestial chorus sounds again, perhaps someone kind will help us finish our song." The date on the entry was the 21st of December, 1899, exactly 123 years to the day from tomorrow's winter solstice. Returning to his shop, Elias worked through the night preparing for the alignment. He polished the watch until its starry face gleamed, carefully oiled its celestial gears, and wound it precisely 7 turns, the number Cora had always used in her designs. As dawn approached on the solstice morning, he placed the watch in the center of a special stand he'd built to hold it, at the perfect angle to catch the first rays of sunrise. The shop filled with the scent of beeswax and anticipation as the golden light crept across the floorboards. When the sunbeam finally touched the watch face, the entire shop filled with a warm golden glow, and all the clocks began chiming in perfect harmony, a sound like church bells heard from far away across still water. As the winter solstice sun climbed higher, the pocket watch's celestial gears began turning of their own accord, their delicate movements casting prismatic light across the shop's walls. The air hummed with energy, thick with the scent of ozone and aged parchment, as all the clocks in the shop quickened their pace. Elias watched in awe as the tiny orrery expanded, its brass rings rotating to mirror the planet's current alignment. Then came the music, not just from the watch, but from the very walls themselves, a deep, resonant harmony that vibrated in Elias's bones. The shop's old grandfather clock opened its carved wooden panels like arms stretching awake, revealing an intricate music box mechanism inside that no one had ever known was there. The melody that poured forth was the same one from the pocket watch, but fuller now, richer, as if decades of suppressed sound were finally being released. Elias found himself moving without thought, his hands drawn to the watch as if guided by invisible strings. As his fingers made contact, the vision returned Cora standing at her workbench in the forest workshop, her hands moving rapidly as she adjusted something small and gleaming. But now the image held, clearer than before. She looked up, and though her lips moved soundlessly, Elias understood. Wind the secondary spring. His hands moved instinctively to the watch's hidden winding point, a tiny recess near the 4 o'clock position. As he gave it 3 precise turns, the entire shop seemed to inhale. The clocks fell silent. Even the fire in the stove paused mid-flicker. Then, with a sound like 1,000 feathers settling, time itself unfolded around him. The shop melted away like watercolor in rain, replaced by Cora's forest workshop in its prime copper tools gleaming on wooden benches, celestial charts covering every wall. Cora stood before him, solid and real, her apron dusted with Clockmaker's brass filings. "You came," she whispered, her voice like wind through watch springs. She reached toward the pocket watch in Elias's hand, her fingers nearly translucent. "It's been waiting so long." As their hands nearly touched, Elias understood the truth. He wasn't just keeping time. He was the bridge between then and now, the final gear in Cora's great design. The watch hadn't been lost. It had been journeying through decades and generations to find its way back to this moment. Cora's workshop shimmered like a mirage as she explained her life's work, not controlling time, but mending its broken threads. The pocket watch contained a memory too precious to fade. Her final evening with the love of her life, a fellow clockmaker named Emile, who had sailed across the ocean and never returned. She'd poured their last conversation into the watch's golden gears, preserving it like a pressed flower between pages. "But a memory needs 2 people to be complete," she said, tracing the watch's starry face. It needed someone who could hear the song and help it find its ending. Outside the spectral workshop, Elias could see his own shop flickering at the edges of reality, the present and past existing simultaneously like overlapping clock faces. With careful hands, Elias helped Cora make the final adjustments to the celestial mechanism. As they worked side by side, though separated by centuries, the watch grew warmer, its melody softening into something sweeter, more resolved. When the last gear clicked into place, the vision of the forest workshop began fading, but Cora's smile remained luminous. "Listen," she whispered. The watch chimed one final time, and suddenly Elias could hear them. Cora and Emile's voices woven into the melody, their laughter like chimes in a summer breeze. The pocket watch's hands began moving backward, then forward, then settled at exactly midnight, a perfect circle completed. Back in his quiet shop, with dawn's first light filtering through the windows, Elias held the now silent watch to his chest. The other clocks ticked contentedly, their rhythms slower now, as if relieved of some long-held burden. He placed the watch in the display case by the door, where its starry face caught the morning Sunday. Customers would admire it for years to come, never knowing its true magic, though some claimed they heard faint music when passing by at certain hours, and on winter solstice mornings, when the light hit just right, the shop would fill with the scent of cinnamon and brass, and all the clocks would chime in perfect, peaceful harmony. For Elias had learned the clockmaker's true gift, not measuring moments, but mending them, not counting hours, but making them sing. And as he wound the shop's clocks each evening, their rhythmic ticking lulling the town to sleep, he often smiled, knowing some songs never truly end. They simply wait between heartbeats and hands for the right moment to be heard again. And so, as the final chime faded into the soft hum of the night, the little clockmaker's gift continued to echo far beyond the walls of his shop. Perhaps, even now, time is whispering its own story to you. Rest easy and let the gentle rhythm of tonight carry you into dreams. Good night.